Good morning and good afternoon for all who are joining us for our Leadership Now series and really their webcast, where we bring amazing thought leaders in our community into this venue to truly learn from them, whether it's business, whether it's life. There are people on here who run teams, run businesses, retired, people who've been furloughed, people who are just hungry. And we looked at Driven Leadership. We believe that every single person has a message. And we get so excited to find these thought leaders that we can learn from and really promote their message and learn from them as well. So for those of you who are viewing this on Facebook Live, we do this through a Zoom webinar, and we can't see your comments. For those of you who are watching us through Zoom, you will see a chat bar, and feel free to, it actually goes to panelists. Make sure that you put a default to attendees and panelists. You can put questions, comments. If you have a question, use the question and answer box. We would love to bring you in live for the questions because we believe in making this interactive. The more interactive we are, the more we learn, the more we connect. So that's just a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. Next week at 11:30 on Tuesday, we are so excited to have Frank Harrison. He is our legend. He is our godfather. And for those of you who know Frank, he is almost 77 years old. And this man does not know what retirement means. He does not know what it means to tailor back anything. He was a owner of an HVAC, 3 different ones for 45 years. And on top of that, he was in charge of the elite water ski team. He had 12, he took them to 12 championships. They won 5 of them. Last year at 76 years old, Frank won the regional for his age bracket. He set a world record and he went on to win the national. On top of that, if you don't think he's not busy enough, he is the president of Desert Cancer Foundation and has, his whole topic is on giving back, and his motto is givers gain. And you want to, if you're inspired at all about what it means to be the change you want to see the difference in giving, you want to be here with Frank next Tuesday. So we are going to jump in with Bridgette Austin. And all I have to say, Bridget, is BAB is in the house. Oh my gosh. You know, Bridget, you, for those of you, well, most of you don't know this story. We had a mutual friend, and you know, she didn't even really talk about you. You were on her Facebook page, and I posted either a blog or something, and you actually followed me on Twitter. And I went, who is Bridgette Austin? Who is this CEO of B. Austin Consulting? And so I did the search, you know, and I started tracking you. And there was something about you that literally just jumped out at me. And I said, I need to know this woman. I couldn't explain it, but I needed to know you. And I said, she's going to go to Bold. I didn't even know how. I didn't know what. This was like a year ago. You didn't even know who I am. And almost a year ago, so it was 10 months ago, you end up in my Bold class. And I'll let you get into your story in just a moment. But Bridget, when I say BAB is in the house, and I'm sure most of you know what BAB, she is. In fact, I have to show you this before we start going, okay? This is Miss Austin. Can you see it? This is her in her glory. My husband said, Mary, you need to get a Harley. But you know, so I'm going to get into your story a little bit, but you are a retired Navy veteran. And first and foremost, I just want to say thank you, ma'am, for your service. I am honored to know you and to have you know that you walk beside and you protect and defend this country is amazing. I just thank you from the bottom of my heart. And you get out of the service, and 4 years you're in this transition, and you help veterans transition. You help military men and women transition into life. You help the LGBTQ community transition, and whatever that norm is, you're here. You are this bridge. And I heard it said, you know, right when the riots were starting, that when you're a bridge, you get walked on by both sides. And Bridget, you are this bridge, but you are such a powerhouse. So before we get into your and your topic. Tell everyone who you are, a little bit about what you do, and what your topic is today.
First of all, Mary, thank you for having me. It is truly an honor to be here and to share my story. Something that I would not have done even probably 6 months ago. So probably before bold, let's put it that way. Yeah, as you said, retired Navy veteran. I've been out now, transitioned 4 years, and believe me, it's taken almost that long just to readjust to civilization as I once knew it. Again, I had a really smooth transition, and I thought that was the norm coming out of the military until I was pretty much slapped in the face with it's not only not the norm, but it is the abnormal. And there are very, very many veterans struggling to make that transition out of the military, much less to identify with their new me and their personalities, LGBTQ, the civilian life, civilian employment, all these things take time, and it's a huge transition process. And so I started the company to be able to bridge that gap, if you will, and help translate some of those skills as I had to translate those skills to the civilian workforce, and to have that conversation with employers to help realize on both sides that there's going to be work required, and we're going to have to do that work together to make this happen. But we are the best and the most elite employees an employer could ever wish for. It's just defining that and identifying what that means in the workforce. Not to mention, there's several programs that deal with compliance processes, project management, that need that cleanup, if you will, need that smoothing over and that structure to put it together to make that program work successfully. So I've basically taken it upon myself and stepped into the realm of entrepreneurship to build that foundation for others before me, for those before me, and for sure those that follow.
Yeah. So your topic is authenticity and balance in the new normal. And before we get into that topic, and you and I were talking about this right before we got on, our mutual friend, she said, when I met Bridget, I said, you had 3 strikes going into the military. You're a woman, you're Black, and you're gay. And now your whole topic and what you're passionate about is being authentic and creating balance. So when you went into the military and knowing you have 3 strikes against you, you have this passion to serve. How did being authentic show up or not show up?
Oh, excellent question, Mary. And you forgot one, it was the 3, but I also took it upon myself to get into the field of maintenance.
Oh, that's right.
Aircraft maintenance
that's
and inspection. Right. So now I'm even making it harder on myself. So authenticity, needless to say, was a challenge, and it didn't exist, to be perfectly honest. First of all, I went into the Navy when the Don't Ask, Don't Tell was alive and kicking. So you do not talk about it. So what does that mean? That means that the conversations I have, they're not real. There's no authenticity. My walls started to build. My masks start to come on, because now I've chosen a career where I can't be myself. I can't have a mentor, I thought, because if I have a mentor, I have to be myself, I have to be authentic, and I have to be transparent. All of those things built up so many walls coming through the ranks in the military, and my fear of, reprisal, my fear of, okay, I won't promote if they realize and they know who I truly am. So I can't talk to anyone. I can't grow in a certain way. I can only grow to a certain level because I wasn't authentic, because I wasn't transparent. So I didn't allow anyone in to help me to develop as a military member and to grow and promote. So fortunately, I found a workaround that got me, to learn the game, if you will, to learn how to promote, to learn my rights. I became a equal opportunity advisor because I wanted to make sure that whatever legacy I left, those behind me could be fearless in who they were and authentic and transparent about who they wanted to be on active duty or thereafter. So going forward, my topic in transparency and the new norm, starting my company, I found that I was falling along a similar pattern in terms of, well, they don't need to know this part of me. I don't need to share that part. All I need to do is, own a business and, have good services, provide professional services, and not take it to any other level. Wrong answer. And I told myself, I sat down, I had Mary, I said, I can't do this again. I cannot go through, and this is my company. I'm hiding in my own company and not being my true authentic self. And I spent the first year of my business running from failure. And instead of embracing the mistakes and learning from those mistakes and failing forward, I lost an entire year trying to avoid the inevitable. So here comes grad school, where many more lessons were learned, particularly how to run a business. But more importantly, learning the leadership piece. And every time we talked about leadership, it led into transparency, authenticity, and being your true yourself. And I actually wrote a paper, and I was trying to get it done because undergrad, you've got assignments, you get them done. And I used that same mentality to get this very, very important leadership paper done. And I got it done. Great. However, it was garbage.
It wasn't authentic.
Oh my goodness. Professor Terrell, Dr. Terrell, I love you. Because, we had a discussion and he gave me the option to turn it in and be good with it or to do it again. And you already know my answer, but I jumped at the opportunity to do again because it wasn't about the grade. Grad school is not about the grade. It's about the journey. It's about the experience. And I was so busy trying to apply what I was learning to my business and to everyday life that I forgot the journey and the experience. So when I peeled back the layers and rewrote that paper, I got to know Bridget on a whole different level. And, you've got your all of your makeup, I can't think of it, but we did it in bold. And when you're doing your leadership qualities, all of your
characteristics.
Yeah. So we're doing your characteristics. Thank you. And I'm peeling back the layers and saying, wow, I have really been shallow for many, many years, and peeled back a few more layers. And I had to look and see where the root of that shallowness came from. And it was the loss of guidance and mentorship that was so due me. And there was so many leaders that wanted to give me that guidance. It was not that they didn't want to, it was that I had the door closed. I was not willing to accept the mentoring that was due me because I was hidden. I was, if you will, I was in that proverbial closet. And not just on my sexuality, but on my needs, my fears. I hid my fears. I hid everything from everyone. As a leader, I needed to make sure that my sailors took me seriously. My sailors took my lead and they followed my lead. And not until we had a conversation, we sat in a meeting and I sat my sailors down and said, let's talk. What do you need from me? And what are you missing? And boy, did they give it to me. And they shared just that. You don't talk to us, you talk at us. It's like you don't care about us, you just want to get the job done. And I broke down. I broke down because these young, men and women that are looking to me for guidance, and all they see me as is just this machine that is beating the drum. And literally that same afternoon, I came with a different approach. And not only did my team embrace that, but they didn't let me do a thing. The rest of that tour, they did not let me do a thing. They took care of the maintenance. They took care of the paperwork. They led. And I was able to sit back and take care of them and help them to grow. My leadership saw that and said, what did you do? I want some of that for my sailors over here. So
it's crazy how, listening to your story and knowing, and for those of people who don't go through Bold, haven't had the chance, we get to see the heart and the core of people.
yes.
And, always seeing what's always been there, yet it truly is. You talk about the journey, and for a leader, we put these masks on to keep people out, right? So that we're not hurt. That's the reason why we wear masks, because there is an expectation, or there are beliefs, or there are things, maybe people have hurt us in the past. Maybe they've said things to us that have crushed us. So we put the mask on and we think, well, if I'm just this, then I'm going to be accepted. But for you to be willing to have an open heart and sit down with your sailors and say, okay, tell me, that speaks to your character. And a lot of times as leaders, if we're not willing to ask the question to truly hear, then it's just lip service. So what changed from that point forward within your relationship with your sailors?
It became not just a subordinate leadership relationship, it became a family, if you will. And I say a family because when you're out in combat, this is who you have watching your back. And when you come back from combat, you still need that support, and you need that guidance and that encouragement. And so here's, Mary, where the turning point is. I gave that openly and honestly to my sailors, but I still wasn't ready to receive it. So there was still a lot of growth going forward, and I didn't realize it for many, many years, until after I transitioned, actually, and learned that, I had a successful transition. I was super prepped. I went from a mechanic inspector to a counselor. So I was teaching transition. I knew it. I had my notes. I was ready to go. I thought.
Head knowledge, right?
I thought, but all of those, I still needed to ask for help. And I still needed to learn to ask for help. And so that transparency, that vulnerability, that authenticity was still missing, because I had it all together. And that's ego, by the way. And I fight battle with my ego still to this day. It is a challenge, and it's going to be. In all these years of life, it doesn't go away in a few months. It's called work for a reason.
Sure.
And that's where that balance comes in. And so starting my company, the balance and the being able to be vulnerable and not having to have the greatest post, and not having, the greatest product out the gate, and not being the perfect business, woman out the gate. I had to let that go. And that was me that first year, probably year and a half, avoiding failure. And
so why do you want perfection so badly?
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's the athlete in me coming up, over the years, and that whole, I'm a good athlete, I'm this, I'm that, and I, all of those I's in there, and not really recognizing the we, because a lot of the sports I played were solo, competitive sports. I did a few team sports, but I didn't really have a strong grasp on the we. And so that perfectionism started there, and then it carried through as a non-destructive testing inspector and quality control inspector in the Navy, where it has to be just right.
Right.
And so not only does it have to be just right, but this is a Black woman in the maintenance field telling white men they can't fly the aircraft because there's a defect. And you better be right.
Right.
And so that's where it comes from, Mary, but that's not where it has to go. And so, again, the importance of the authenticity and balance in the new normal is because up until, this pandemic has not been a positive thing by any means. However, for me, it was an opportunity to reflect, really, truly reflect on what is important. What are my values? What am I trying to do?
So what is important, and what are your values?
What's important is that I be kind. All the way, all the way around. I'm an aggressive individual. And so the
No.
language, the language of kindness is, it's a foreign language. I still have a few masks that I wear. And even at home, I'm still taking off those masks and they come back. Again, it's work. It is a lot of work. And so the kind piece, of course, for business purposes, you know the game, okay? Everything, you know how to talk, you know how to speak. But stepping outside of that into life, real life, and truly meaning it, and truly bringing people in authentically, not because I want anything from you, but because, you know what? You're a good person, and I want to get to know you, and I want you to get to know me. I have never said that, Mary, before this year. I have never said that. And if I did, I didn't mean it. So
what woke you up? What taught you that kindness really matters?
Communication. Bold opened my eyes a lot. I'm not trying to be all, a salesman, but bold opened my eyes a lot in those few days. And then stepping back even before bold, which prepped me for bold, was taking the leadership course at USC and realizing that it's not about ego and it's not about being in charge. It's about being a team. If it's one or two or three, we are equals. And we can get a whole lot more done if we take care of each other and instead of stepping down on someone because you think that you know more than that individual or you're better than that individual. And more importantly, not being the strongest, boldest, most capable, smartest person in the room. I am here to learn. I am a learner. And I want to be around people that I can learn from as well as I can teach. And again, that brings about the balance and the lack of balance I had. At the beginning of this pandemic, I was enthralled in, oh my gosh, I can get so much stuff done. I can, catch up on this and clean this. It's like, hold up, breathe, relax. Your health is the most important thing you need to be worrying about right now. And so the balance, my dogs, my pets, my relationship.
How many do you have? Five? You have 5 dogs?
I have 3 Yorkies, yes. Yes, and they own me. But that's another story.
Right.
But yeah, my relationship and, my family relationship, my family dynamic, talking to my sister, and she's told me that there were certain things that she didn't want to say to me because she didn't know how I was going to take it. That's horrible. That's a horrible feeling. And so I had to, Mary, step back and just reflect, because what I do in life personally is going to reflect professionally.
Sure.
It's going to reflect physically. So how I embrace the day-to-day, one day at a time processes or things I do, hiking, fishing, riding my motorcycle, anything, how I treat individuals, all of that makes a difference in the outcome of life, my health, well-being, and those around me. People, once I let my vulnerability out, I can't tell you how much help I received with my business. I mean, it's incredible. It's like, oh my gosh, you don't know it all. Let me help you.
Yeah.
And I broke down in tears, Mary, because it's like, wow, that's all I had to do was just be authentic. You know?
But there's something about you, just even with all your story, there's things that we learn along the way.
Yes.
And culture, upbringing, experiences, and you being strong. Like, you are one of the strongest women I know. And there's a piece, though, that's like, you always have to prove. You always have to prove you're good enough. You're worthy enough. And of course, like you said, you're a Black woman, you're gay, and you pick this going into the military as a mechanic. And so there's always, no, I'm good enough. See, I'm going to show you, I'm an athlete. I'm good enough. You're wired to win. But what happens if you don't change the dialogue, if you don't take off the mask and willing to look inside, which you were saying, it translates into every area of your life. So if you don't deal with this, it's going to show up here. You don't deal with here, it's going to show it. There's so many lessons that come around it and along. And it's what knowing you don't have to prove. Like, and I remember saying that to you in Bold, you don't have to prove anything. Like, you're good enough just the way you are. So you talk about the masks and still having masks and knowing that some of them come off. And also it's a journey. And that's for it, all of us. We don't just take off the mask and go, okay, here I am. I mean, it would be nice, right? In fact, I posted the meme today, the quote, and it was like, this is perfect. Like, I didn't even know where you're talking about this, was that sometimes it's not that people change, it's that the mask fell off. And all of a sudden people don't realize or know how to work and deal with this person with the mask off, but it's a part of who we are. So what's the next mask that needs to come off?
Let's see, there's been so many. I think the next mask is gratitude. Mm-hmm. Gratitude and kindness to myself. Because when you have all these expectations, you're hardest on yourself. We're all our worst enemy. But the gratitude and just, I actually, I have a gratitude psychology piece that I write daily. At the end of the day, what are 5 things you're grateful for? Mm. And I always make sure that being kind to myself and others is in there amongst the 4. Because that's probably been the biggest challenge going forward with all the attempts is the inner self, the inner me, and accepting and forgiving that, you know what, you're never going to be perfect. And that's okay, because you're you. Mm-hmm. And you're the only person that you can be, and accepting that for what it is. That's the next mask. That's the biggest mask, Mary, to be perfectly honest. Because until I do that, everything else is still going to be a struggle. The angst inside, the internal that actually bleeds out and it affects others, especially those close to me. And again, my sister said something to me that blew my mind. I didn't even realize that she was paying such close attention over my time in the Navy since I transitioned and now, is I am a machine. I am constantly moving, constantly thinking, constantly doing something. And she sees me finally starting to relax and embrace. And that's just the beginning.
So we go in different seasons in life.
Absolutely.
So what season are you in right now?
The season I'm in right now is reflection. It's gonna be a while longer. Reflection and taking it one step at a time to figure out, okay, what truly makes me tick, what makes me happy? Because if I'm not happy, there's no balance. Right. It's not real. I can't be real with anything in my world if I'm not happy and sufficient with what's going on in my heart. So that's the next step, Mary, and the step that's been brewing is reflection and taking a break from the madness, if you will, and enjoying my space, enjoying the fact that I'm healthy, particularly as a Black woman in today's pandemic, and those around me are healthy. I'm able to spend time virtually with people I love and know, and share a space, with people I love and know. So I've got a lot of work to do, Mary. And the difference between having a lot of work to do and getting it done is being willing and open to do it.
Right. Well, I know about you, you like to do the research and you dig in and you need a process and you need your rules and structure. And part of that's military, right? Part of that is your athlete upbringing. There's always rules and structure. And getting, you have to recreate it, but at the same time, some of our greatest strengths become our greatest weakness.
Gosh. You know who said that to me many years ago that I wasn't ready to hear? Is my mother.
Oh, our moms.
My mom was, and will always be the legacy that I hope to follow. Her strength, and her willingness to screw up and be okay with it, and still be a strong woman and teach me the game of life and how to deal with the professional environment. The thing I missed that I'm learning now from my mother and my father is the compassion and the love and the sacrifice that you have to be willing to make a lot to move forward and get out of my own head and listen to someone else for a change and work with someone else and help someone else for a change, and not make it about the business, not make it about, goals, not make it about a process. Just do, just be.
There's that saying that when the student's ready, the teacher appears. And we hear messages and we hear messages and we hear messages.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, when you're ready, you hear mama.
Yes.
Her voice and her message and her legacy will always live on with you, Bridget. And to know that, and I look at you and what you just talked about your mom is what I see in you. And it's crazy because a lot of times we're not ready to see that in ourselves. We have to go through our own journey. We have to go through our pain. And then all of a sudden you realize, I don't have to prove it anymore. I just get to be who mama always said I was. And now it's time. Yes. So what would you wish that people knew about you where maybe you felt misunderstood in the past?
Oh, that's easy. That I'm shy and I am always looking to learn, and I will always need help, even though I don't ask for it, or even though I have this posture that says you've got it together, everything is perfect in your world. Obviously, no, that doesn't exist. And so what I would love, for the entire mass of individuals I know, that I realize they don't see me that way because I've said it. I've said, you know what, I'm nervous, I'm shy. Oh, no, not you, not you. Mm-hmm. Yes, I am. All the time. And the difference is I believe in myself, so I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean it's not there.
It's interesting because I don't see that, but at the same time, we put so much off on other people. It's what we see. A lot of times we see in them what we want to be, and recognizing under the hood. And I've said it before, we all have the same type of fears, dreams, insecurities, and we're all human. And it doesn't make it good, bad, right, or wrong. It just is. And I love what you just said, but I do something about it. It's that saying, I feel the fear and do it anyways. I feel shy, yet I'm going to put myself out here. I'm going to say, all right, I'll be on this webinar.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, Mary, because why not do it? Who am I hiding from? Right. Like I said, ever since I stepped out of myself and, raised my hand and asked for help and showed, my weaknesses, I've gotten nothing but support. Mm.
So why do you think in the past you didn't ask for help? What was it?
Ego. Pride, ego. In a nutshell, I was so used to being the good athlete, being good at what I did, that if I tried something new, I would hide that I didn't know everything about it. So I would go back and read anything I could so that I could catch up. I went to a school to learn about how to mathematically twist an aircraft part to inspect it with a radiograph using x-rays, using different methods, and I knew nothing about metallurgy.
I didn't know what that word is.
So, so the properties of metal, basically. So I'm not only studying how to do this trigonometry and how to, how to learn how to do ultrasonic inspections, but I have to learn metallurgy because I didn't want to ask for help. Because I didn't want anybody to know that, I'm new at this and I'm a female. And by the way, I'm the only female in this class of Marines and sailors. Who do I ask? Who do I go to?
So you learned you had to take it all on yourself. And that goes back into trust, right? If we don't trust the people that we're with, we don't trust their support system, then we do it ourselves so we're not hurt. And we're not disappointed. And then again, it goes back into the proof. See, I'm good enough. I know my stuff and I'm not going to let you down.
And Mary, you said a very powerful word, trust. Trust is something, I'll tell you, I'm at a point now where I'm gonna trust you until you give me a reason not to. Because I don't have a choice. Because that's the only way to grow. If you run around, look at the world we're in right now. It's because there's no trust. It's because there's so much hate. We're missing a lot of components to life, basic components to life that many of our parents taught us. Some didn't, which is what I learned in the Navy. The several individuals I met for the first time that had never seen a Black person before. And to build that trust and to learn from something that's different and to struggle with that. It doesn't matter if it's ignorance. It doesn't matter if it just wasn't brought up in the household. It doesn't matter. It's here I am. I'm here for you. If you don't want to accept me, that's okay, but I'm here for you. And be willing to walk down the street and say hello to someone, even though they don't say hi back. It doesn't matter anymore to me. That's where I'm at in this life. And this is where I am going forward is just do it.
I love it. Dr. Seuss's quote just is rolling around in me. It's those who matter don't mind, and those that mind don't matter. So the people in our lives that are the most important, they're going to embrace our flaws. They're going to embrace the good, bad, the ugly, the mask, and they're going to support us in taking it off, because the people who truly matter, they want to see us. They want to know us. And no matter how hard it might be, when they give you feedback, you're going to listen.
Feedback, yes. Again, Mary, it's the openness and willingness to accept the feedback, to accept that constructive criticism along with the praise and the glories. Those are easy, and I'm looking more, I actually get mad when I don't get the criticism. I want to hear the bad. And so I had a problem hearing the good and the praise and the glory, because I would always find a flaw. Good game. Yeah, but I missed that shot. I was one of those, so a lot, like I said, there's a lot of reflection in my life, and this whole new norm has brought things to light that were in the darkness, and now that it's in the light, there's no way to go but forward.
So I'm going to open up. If anyone has any questions for Bridget, put it in the question and answer. If you have comments as well, put that there. So you talk about, and then I love to bring, like I said, we love to bring you in. So if you have questions, absolutely let us know so we can make this more conversation. So the new norm.
Yes.
And I love what you just said, bringing what was in the darkness to light. Is that easy or is that hard for you?
That's excruciatingly difficult. It's very challenging, simply because habits are hard to break. And once you feel I've hit that cycle where I've broken the habit, and then I do something and realize it's still there because it's work. And so it's hard. It's really, really hard, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because the people I am bringing into my life are the people that need to be there. And there are people that are also struggling with things. So we can have a conversation, a real conversation. I'll call it real talk, and bring things out that, we may not share with family. We may not share with friends. Those things that you can have that talk. And when you leave that day, it stays with you, but you feel the pressure relieved because you let it out. And it makes for, the energy. It's like, it makes for such an amazing day when at the end of the day, you can say, I had a good day, and go to sleep and sleep really good instead of, man, I should have said that. I didn't. I should have been nicer. You know, just all these shoulda, coulda, wouldas that you have the power to control and eliminate. Just do it. Go with it. And if it doesn't work out, now you know.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
So what's your biggest fear?
Not believing in myself to the fullest. And doing everything and anything I want to do. Basically, there's no limits. The only limits I've had in my life are those I put on myself.
Sure.
And so my biggest fear is not living up to my potential.
So what are you doing, as we have that saying, run to the roar, face that fear? What are you doing to overcome that fear?
One word, Mary: communication. And I say communication because I've always been silent. I've held things in, and that's safe. That's a very safe place to be. So in order for me to live up to my potential, then I have to speak my mind. I have to speak my heart. More importantly, my heart. Because what's on my heart is what has guided me this far. And I know that it's going to continue to guide me, because the more I let that out and the more I speak to that, the realer life becomes for me. And the realer the people around me become to me, and the more they want to be in my space.
So this is your podium. What's the message you want to get out to this world? I mean, there's so much craziness going on. What's your message?
You know, here's my message. With all the craziness going on, I'll tell you, remember who you are in all of this. Don't forget your values, your mind, your beliefs, whatever those are. Don't let anybody take that away from you. If it's a partner, a loved one, a friend, it's okay. If they don't believe what you believe, that's okay. Don't stop believing in yourself. Don't stop loving and giving love simply because you were hurt in the past or because you're feeling hurt now. We are all in a lot of pain right now. And take that pain and embrace it and make it something special for you. There's a purpose for all of us on this planet, and we have to find that purpose. So whatever that is for you, keep reaching and keep looking for it, and don't give up no matter what, especially on yourself. Do not give up on yourself and your goals. Go for whatever you believe is in your heart. That's my message.
Powerfully said. So Trisha Jameson has a question, and Trish, I'm going to bring you on so you can answer it. Let me see. Hold on one second here. I hope you're ready for this. Love technology. Oops, I hit the wrong button. See, I love technology. I brought Pam Annister in. Okay, hang on a second. All right, Trish, you should be able to come in.
There we go.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Bridget, I really appreciate your conversation today. And as Mary knows, like, the world moves so fast. And for a reason, I was here and I was able to be here today. And it was to hear you, very much to hear you. And I needed to hear it. And as somebody, when you said that you were a very shy or quiet, or it's just not your nature to speak out, and that you do it anyway. Like, I scream out loud in my office, you're not alone, because I think a lot of people expect me to be loud and outgoing when that's not who I am. But my question for you is, as somebody that is always busy, always going, always hungry, always thinking, how do you get yourself to that place to pause, to rest, to take that time out like you were talking about? Like, what advice do you have for somebody like that?
Awesome question. and it's a daily effort. But one of the things I used to do is ride my motorcycle and just ride in the wind and let it go. However, in the new norm and the new world, with texting and things and driving, it's not as safe as it used to be. So I had to find a new way. I took up a app called Headspace.
Yes.
And I meditate. I find my way to the beach. I say that because it's not far, and it's like literally walking distance, but somehow I'm so busy I don't get there. Okay, so I literally have to put it on my calendar and make it happen. So make a conscious effort to schedule it, if you will, until it becomes a habit, and let everything else go, no matter what it is. Pile of emails. Oh, I got to answer this. No, you don't. No, you don't. And I have to tell myself, you know what? If you die today, will this get done by someone else? And that's a harsh way to think about it, but it's the real truth. It's real. It's reality. It will get done without you. So if you don't take care of you, then someone else will be waiting to take care of it for you. And that's what gets me through, Patricia. Thank you for asking me that.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
It's awesome.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Trish. All right, I have another question. Said tough question, and you can choose whether to ask. But Bridget said this was all about being authentic and transparent. So, as a Black woman who served this country and was willing to die for it, how do you respond to being viewed as a second-class citizen?
Oh, yes.
That hurts.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. And that's a conversation I have often, particularly with the young men and women that are still serving, because it's a hard pill to swallow. I mean, we're serving a country that for the rights that most of us don't even have, or we still have to fight for. And believe it or not, it was a bigger picture for me, because if you think of it that way, you'll never get anything done. And so, yes, we are considered second-class citizens. However, was there something to take away from that experience? Was there something to learn from that experience that I could share with others? Yes. So while we're being considered as such, I utilized the United States military to enhance my education, to broaden my experience, my worldly experience in travels, and to teach others what I learned in those travels. So there's one negative, but there are about 10 positives to that negative that I took away from the military. And that's how we have to see life. There's always going to be something that's going to potentially hold you back. But what you have to do is see, what can you get out of this? What is your takeaway from this that can be positive with all of the negatives surrounding it? And, a person actually asked me if, I had to do all over again, knowing what I know now, would I still go in the military? And, quite honestly, the answer is yes, because I got a lot out of it. And I saw the world. I got an amazing education pre and post military for free. And I was able to help others transition successfully out of the military and adjust to this new normal, adjust to this new world that it's not structured. It's not perfect. We're not being paid or compensated for the meals we have or for our living arrangements. We have to figure all those things out for ourselves. And for me to have dealt with that, learned, and made it through successfully, most definitely, I pay it forward to those that follow.
So powerful. When you were talking about the 10 things that were good, there's two types of people. There are the people who focus on what's wrong, and there are the people that focus on the lesson. And so you could ask some person who is angry, bitter, frustrated, mad, and that's all they see. Or you can look at the 10 things that you learned and still move forward. And I just have to say, man, that question hurt. Like, that one hurt.
Yeah, it's painful. I mean, but it's painful every day for me, if I let it be.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, it's the reality in life that, again, my parents prepared me, they prepped me well for things to come, to the point where they were afraid for me. And I had to remind them, you taught me how to get through this. Yeah. Don't worry about me in Afghanistan. Don't worry about me in these other countries. Don't worry about me because you taught me to get through it.
Yeah. Wow. Thank God for the power of our parents, right? The lessons they taught us.
My goodness, yes.
All right, I have another one. What, in your opinion, can everyday leaders do to make the country a better place starting today?
Again, you've got two of these and one of these, right? So the more listening we do, the more we hear, the less we speak. And when we do speak, the words are powerful because we heard the message. And particularly as leaders, we get caught up a lot in leading and making things happen and adjusting, where if we sit back a little bit and just focus and observe and listen to what's happening, we could become much better leaders because now we have a bigger canvas to work with because we listened. Mm-hmm. So that's, in a nutshell, listen more, speak less, and be more effective when you do.
That's awesome. Deb Bostwick said, speaking as the mutual friend, I love you, Bridget.
Love you too, Deb.
I'm going to just launch a poll real quick just on feedback again, because we love the feedback. If you click other and there's something else, when I send you the follow-up email, will you please put that feedback in there, because we take this to heart. And as that is launched, I just want to say thank you again, Bridget, just for being who you are. And as you're on here, I'm like, this is why I love you. Just your presence, your voice, your topic, authenticity and balance in the new norm. Like, that's who I see in you from the moment I met you. And I didn't know you prior. And we all have stuff, right? There was times I have masks, and there's times I still have to put the mask on.
Yes.
But what I have always seen in you from the time that I met you is this, Bridget. It's the authentic. It's the one that you talk about asking for help, and it's hard for you because you're the one that loves to give it. Like, you're the one that you go after. And I saw you in class, like, you would pull people alongside, you would carry them. We talk about a true leader as someone who's always out in front. They're the one that's behind, they're doing the chicken wing side to side. And I just want to thank you for being so authentic, so transparent, having tough and real conversations, and knowing that your message inspires other people, gives them hope, and knowing that kindness comes from you. So the thing that you want, you already are. And it's just being intentional every day within it.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. So again, thank you for being on here. Next week, remember, we have Frank Harrison with, oh my gosh, almost 77-year-old man who is the legend, the godfather, talking about the power of giving back, giver's gain, and the difference it makes. This man will inspire you like none other. So have an amazing rest of your week. Oh. And again, thank you, Miss Bridget.
Mary, thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. I enjoyed sharing. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Right.
Bye. Bye-bye. For now.